as the Vice Chancellor, a man that has hit the ground running. And of course, so far, we are beginning to feel what we know as digitalization of the university. He's here as the Chairman, Professor of Monetary and Development Economics. He holds well as the 73rd Inaugural Lecturer of this Citadel of Academic Excellence, Professor Christopher Ukommi. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have also in our midst the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic. Speaks English, writes English, teaches English. She is a professor of English, and she holds well as the 52nd inaugural lecturer of this university. Professor Uyo Main. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have the Registrar and Secretary to Senate, Secretary to Council, Mrs. Blossom Ukommi. We also have the bursar of the university, here present, Dr. Moses Akpan. Celebrate him, please. Then we have the university librarian, Dr. Thomas A. Adigo. Celebrate him, please. Let me also acknowledge the 138th Inaugural Lecturer, Professor of Industrial Sociology, Chief of Staff to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Aniefiok Ukommi. We have here the presenter of the inaugural lecturer. She is Professor Oyintoyo Michael Olomo, Director, Consultancy and Institutional Advancement, Federal University Otoke, Bayelsa. Then we have the hosting faculty of the inaugural lecturer, Social Sciences. Himself, the 114th inaugural lecturer, Professor Aniefiok. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have informed this event that the wife of the Vice Chancellor is here. Mrs. Idara Ekon, please celebrate her. Let me acknowledge other dignitaries that are here. We have a man who led this university from 2000 to 2005. From 2000 to 2005. It is time to transform the face of the university. He is the 9th inaugural lecturer of this university and the only emeritus professor of this university, Professor Akpan Oga Eko. Let me acknowledge another transformer, former Vice Chancellor of this university. He is a pioneer, distinguished professor, Professor of Law, cerebral, wonderful gentleman, distinguished Professor Aniefiok, a Saint Sam. Let me acknowledge the Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Agriculture and Technology, Professor Joseph Essien. I acknowledge the Registrar, Federal University of Agriculture and Technology, Barrister Nwaniba Isaiah. Let me acknowledge the Registrar of Ritzman University, Mrs. Fred Emmanuel. Let me acknowledge the former Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Professor Charles Uko. Acknowledge former Dean of Management Sciences, Professor Isaac Ayandele. Acknowledge the 14th inaugural lecturer of this university, Professor Innocent Modu. Let me acknowledge here the village head of Nyadia village, Mpareni, Etino Ubong Ebo. Welcome. We also have in our midst the representative of the Vice Chancellor Unipots, Professor Kina Iwo Ashinda. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Let me please acknowledge, for want of time, we may not exhaust all the list, please. But let me acknowledge the family of the inaugural lecturer. We have here a woman that was taught by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Professor Aniefiok. She's here. She holds that mandate as the beautiful wife of our handsome inaugural lecturer. Mrs. Aniefiok Ukommi. You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you. Let me also acknowledge the children. Miss Mfoniso Aniefiok Ukommi. Okay, we also have here Miss Aniefiok Ukommi. She's smiling. This one, Shakara. Then we have the one called as Papa's woman. You'll be shocked that I know it. Miss Uyo Main Ukommi. Then we have the family secretary, Master Etienne Aniefiok Ukommi, the writer. You know, anywhere you go, a man will always represent. Thank you, boy. Thank you. We have here the father of the inaugural lecturer, Ukommi. We have here the mother of the inaugural lecturer, Mrs. Idara Nsebo Udo and staff. Then we have the one addressed as governor, Ms. Esther Ukommi, sister. Welcome, thank you. Then we have the immediate younger brother of the inaugural lecturer, who is an engineer by profession, lecturer in Akwa Ibom State University, Professor Ukommi. Thank you. Then we have another brother, engineer Aniefiok Ukommi. Celebrate them, thank you. Let me acknowledge in-laws, Mrs. Ukommi is here. Celebrate her, please. Then we have another in-law, Mrs. Ukommi. Celebrate her, please. Thank you. Then we have another in-law, Mrs. Aniefiok Ukommi. Thank you very much for coming. Then we have the acting village head, Chief Monday Harrison. You're welcome wherever you're seated, Chief. Then let me acknowledge here a friend of the inaugural lecturer, Mr. Dominic Essien. You're welcome wherever you're seated. Okay, thank you very much for coming. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, for want of time and the lack of it, I seek your leave that I take a bow at this moment. But let me formally and respectfully invite to the lectern the Registrar and Secretary to the Senate of this university, beautiful excellent. Thank you.
Celebrating one justice to the work assigned for him to do. Let me embrace the already established protocol that allow me to recognize the Vice Chancellor and the members of the High Table. It is my pleasure and privilege to warmly welcome all of you to the 138th Inaugural lecture of this great university. Today's lecture is particularly a significant one because it provides another opportunity for the university community to celebrate scholarship, intellectual inquiry, and advancement of knowledge. Our inaugural lecturer, Professor Aniefiok Ukommi, of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, will deliver a lecture titled that it may be well with the Nigerian workers, his contribution to industrial sociology. On behalf of the university community and management, I sincerely thank all for honoring our invitation today. May I respectfully invite our dear Vice Chancellor, the 73rd inaugural lecturer of this great university, to make his opening remarks. Let's celebrate him.
I welcome once more to this great event. This event is a unique one, a very special nature. We are going to see the uniqueness of this event when the lecturer steps up. He's adorned in our new color, the color of this university. And that is a color that every inaugural lecturer of this university is going to wear. If you are presented before or you are an inaugural lecturer, you need to buy this color because I don't want to call the next two inaugural lectures and say, maybe announce those who are presented before start. Once you wear this color, you will know that you have been your presenter. So welcome also. I don't know what it's going to say. I don't know the content of what you speak to me. Just like you. I've got the book, but I'm not able to read and listen. So let us sit, listen to the lecturer, and at the end of the day, we're not going to even ask any question or make remarks. They will take you and distill to see what he said, whether it will be well with the water or not. Thank you very much, and welcome to the
Celebrate our Vice Chancellor for that illuminating remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, every inaugural lecture is a celebration of excellence, dedication, scholarship, and service. It is therefore fitting that we take a moment to reflect upon the distinguished academic journey and remarkable accomplishment of our inaugural lecture. To perform this task, I have the honor to invite Professor Onyetomi Michael Ulumu, Director of Consultancy and Institutional Advancement, Federal University of Ukommi, to present the citation of our inaugural lecturer, Professor Aniefiok S. Ukommi. Let's celebrate our act.
My Vice Chancellor, sir, and Chairman of today's occasion, Deputy Vice Chancellors, Principal Officers of this great university, the Provost, College of Health Sciences, Deans of faculties and schools, Directors of institutes and centers, Chairman and members of Senate, heads of departments, my Lord spiritual and temporal, invited guests, gentlemen of the press, great Uyo family, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a profound sense of gratitude and privilege and no small measure of joy that I stand before this distinguished gathering to present for this inaugural lecturer a man whose life journey and shoes itself is a sermon on providence, perseverance, and purpose. Join me all as I make welcome my own academic father, Professor Aniefiok Sunday. On a personal note, my Vice Chancellor, sir, I count it a rare privilege that Professor Sunday Ukommi served as my PhD thesis supervisor. Anyone who has done PhD before knows very well that the relationship between a supervisor and the student can sometimes resemble a peacekeeping mission. But thankfully, my experience was quite the opposite. Beyond the successful completion of my academic journey, Professor Aniefiok Ukommi has remained closely in touch, exemplifying the enduring qualities of mentorship, friendship, and genuine concern for the professional growth of well-being and of those he has guided. It is therefore both an academic and personal honor I present him today. My dear audience, on the 29th of December 1975, at about 11:55 p.m., with only a few hours left before the dawn of the new year, a child was born into the home of Elder Sunday Ukommi and Deaconess Aniefiok Sunday Ukommi of Eka Nnon Impact in the local government area of Akwa Ibom State. He was the sixth child of the family and the second male, fondly called Udo. The birth of this child in every sense, an answer to long-awaited prayers, determined by the world should know it. His father named him Aniefiok Sunday Ukommi. In no joyful acknowledgement of God's mysterious ways and gracious visitation to the family, his grandfather added another triumphant name, August. It was whispered that none too kindly that his mother had been blessed only with daughters. The arrival of this son therefore became a testimony of masculine grace in the home of Elder Sunday and Deaconess Aniefiok. Let's talk about his childhood and early education. The young Aniefiok Ukommi discovered his true home in the classroom early. He was, as his late mother would fondly recount, in such a hurry to begin school that he had to fight for it. It would appear he began competing for academic excellence long before he understood what examinations were. Enrolled in primary one purely on trial, he came first in his class and to comprehensive secondary school in Kana 18 and local government area, 1987 through 1999, where he distinguished himself with 8 distinctions and 1 credit in the junior secondary school certificate examination. He completed his secondary education at Methodist Secondary School. Sunday Ukommi professional journey began not in the lecture hall but in the public service. Between March 2000 and February 2001, he served with distinction at the Yobe State Ministry of Information and Home Affairs and subsequently the Yobe State Fire Service Board, where his diligence earned him a state award. I think my father deserves a round of applause here. So impressed was the Yobe State government with his service that upon completion of his national youth service, he was retained and posted to teach as an assistant lecturer at the state-owned College of Administrative and Business Studies, COTISCOM, now the College of Administration, Management and Technology. It's very evidently and obvious. They concluded that allowing him to leave would have been a poor institutional decision. It was during this period, with the encouragement and sponsorship of Alhaji Muhammad Musa Damaturu, then State Director of the Yobe State Fire Service Board, that he seized the opportunity offered by the University of Maiduguri liberal admission policy to pursue his master's degree in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, academic and administrative career now. Since joining the University of Uyo as an assistant lecturer in 2008, Professor Ukommi has risen steadily and deservedly through the himself not only in scholarship but also in dedicated service to the university community. Within his department and faculty, he has coordinated diploma in social work and community development, as well as the postgraduate programs from 2013 to 2021. He also served as Vice Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences through 2021-25, and active Dean Department, acting Head Department of Sociology and Anthropology 2021-2025. Over the years, Professor Aniefiok Ukommi has been entrusted with several important responsibilities within the university. He has served on the academic board of the School of Continuing Education and Professional Studies and as an internal examiner and external thesis better for the postgraduate school. His contributions to the university governance has been equally remarkable. He served as advancement officer at the Center for Advancement, Alumni and Endowment between March and June 2026, and currently serves as Chief of Staff to the Vice Chancellor, a position that speaks eloquently to the confidence and trust reposed him by the university's leadership. Professor Ukommi's professional reach extends well beyond the walls of the University of Uyo. He served as external examiner at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels to the Department of Sociology at Auburn University, Whitman University, University of Calabar, Niger Delta University, Ignatius Ajuru University, you should be clapping at this point, and the University of Port Harcourt since 2017. He has also served as a facilitator and examiner for the undergraduate programs, National Open University of Nigeria. My dear audience, you will agree with me that Professor Ukommi's external examining schedule suggests that many universities have found it very, very difficult to do without his critical eyes. As a committed professional, he is a lifetime fellow of the Nigerian Anthropological and Sociological Practitioners Association, NASA, where he has served successfully as Treasurer 2014 through 2016, General Secretary 2016 through 2022, Deputy Zonal Coordinator and later Zonal Coordinator for South-South, and currently Vice President Administration. He deserves a round of applause, please. He is also an associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Management and a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. His community service includes serving as Unit Secretary, Special Marshal with the Federal Road Safety Commission in Porticom, and current as a member of Akwa Ibom State Gender-Based Violence Management Committee. Research grants and consultation. Professor Ukommi's scholarship has consistently attracted funding and recognition at the highest level. In 2022 alone, he led 4 TETFund National Research Fund (NRF) project as the coordinator for Akwa Ibom State. His research collaboration have involved leading international organizations, including the World Health Organization, where he served as coordinator of the SWIFT program in Uyo, Ofiom, Oruko, and Udom, Yopuko local government area in 2017, and as a field supervisor for a WHO field survey in Ikonabasi 2012 to 2013. He also served as a state supervisor for the 2013 UN Women Study on the socio-cultural determinants of voting patterns in women political participation. As field coordinator, the Center for Advancement of Social Sciences, Port Harcourt, an independent National Electoral Commission sponsored study of grassroots democratization in 2011. I beg the audience, please clap for him. His consultancy experience includes serving as technical assistant on the World Bank funded Akwa Ibom State Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project 2020 through 2023, and the Akwa Ibom State Community and Social Development Project 2027. He has also been consulted for Project Alert. He has also been consulted for Project Alert. For the African Children Aid Education and Development Foundation. He was also an active participant in scholarly and professional dialogue, notably notably the World Bank Social Protection Practitioners and Academic Dialogue in 2018. The impressive record of grants, fieldwork, and consultancy is complemented by rich publication profile. Professor Aniefiok Ukommi has authored well over 55 scholarly publications in reputable local and international journals, a body of work that has deservedly earned him the chair he now occupies as Professor of Industrial Sociology in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. Family and faith. Beyond the classroom, the boardroom, and the field, Professor Aniefiok Ukommi remains at heart a devoted Christian and a dedicated family man. He is happily married to Mrs. Main Aniefiok Ukommi, and their union is blessed with 4 children. Now the Vice Chancellor and Chairman of Senate, sir, it is against this backdrop of this remarkable journey from a midnight bed in through classrooms and campuses across Nigeria to the highest echelons of education and academic and administrative service at this university that I have the singular honor and privilege to present to you and to this distinguished audience, Professor Aniefiok Ukommi, a professor of industrial sociology, to deliver to us the 138th inaugural lecture of the University of Uyo title that it may be well with Nigerian workers, my contributions to industrial sociology. My inaugural lecturer, sir.
To stand on the already well-established protocol while I deliver my inaugural lecture. I want to promise that I'm not going to take our time because so many of our friends have come from far and near. Lagos, Port Harcourt, and even my village, and they will need to go back in good time. Sir, I want to start with dedication, and I'm dedicating this inaugural lecture to number 1, God who made the fulfillment of my dreams not only possible but very smooth. You may not understand that, but as someone who lost his dad before his 7th birthday, and to make it quite early, you will understand why God is very important. I also want to dedicate this to my parents, late Elder Sunday Ukommi, and my mom, the one I grew to become very, very close to, for their sacrifices. It were their efforts that made me what I have become. I also want to add my siblings to that dedication. They sacrificed their comfort for my future. My elder sister, who has become my mom, over so many years now, had to pay my school fees at secondary school level. She was very, very few years ahead of me. My second sister, who unfortunately is not here with us, had to take up that responsibility of paying my fees through the university. And I also know that even though my elder brother is just few years my senior, at some point he had to sacrifice. And then to special people, Alhaji Mohammed Damatru, he took me in, barely could pronounce my name, but he gave me all to express myself. He encouraged me to stay back, that the north is not hostile, that I can actually make it there, and it became successful. He drove me to the University of Maiduguri and sought for admission to start even while I was studying. I have Professor Christopher Ukommi. He is today our Vice Chancellor. The relationship is not today, so many years back. I will also have Professor Otu Anthony Ekweyon is here, and Professor Uyo Main, the current Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences, NIGERIAN University, is here. And then Professor Kinako Azunda Anele, my mentor, my supervisor, is my godfather. Professor Charles E.A. Uko and wife, they took me in and have done so much, not only for me, but also for my siblings. They gave me attention, showed me love, and came when it mattered. I want to also acknowledge the contributions of my friends. Let me start with the friends I inherited from my father. The first, late elder Japhet Monday Kanden. We lost him just few years ago, not quite 2 years. He later became my principal and gave me direction. Elder Francis Akpabio, Mpili Dobokonta, they accommodated us. And then Elder W.W. Udofia, who would always want to find out the status of my performance in school. I want to especially acknowledge Elder Ukommi, Essex, and the brother. They are here. Elder Ukommi took me to Port Harcourt and introduced me to my aunt, who played a key role later to solve my problems. The younger brother gave me key to his house. I'm not sure he got those keys back. I could always sneak in, eat, and come back to school. They made my stay very, very memorable in Port Harcourt. Let me also greet my mentors. I will start with late Professor Stephen Ekweyon. We lost him just few months back. I recall when I got the approval and I communicated with him, he promised that even on wheelchair, that will be here. But the will of God prevailed. We buried him 27th of last month. He did not only introduce me to sociology, he ensured that I profit from my study of society. I had a very good relationship with late Reverend Father John Oscar Moore. He had helped me through a lot in life. Not minding the fact that I'm not a candidate, he accepted me, took me in, and placed all I needed to succeed. I also would pay tributes to late Professor Nwaniba, University of Jos, on realizing that I was studying sociology. He kept a very close relationship with me. I was not the one driving that relationship, but he told me, for me to profit in sociology, someone must show me the way. And he took on that. I have a host of others. My Vice Chancellor, if there are names I am here to mention, I will hide behind you because I know you protect me. My special bosses, the Vice Chancellor and the wife, she's my boss. Thank you, ma'am. Professor Joe Essien, the PDC. Thank you. And I also want to thank Professor Uyo Main and Professor Uyo, as well as Professor Essien, Professor Ukommi, Professor Sebasepan, Professor Donatus Ukommi, and a host of others. They have assisted me in very many ways. Of course, I will not forget my students, former and current. I may not be able to mention all the names, but as I stand here, I can pick their faces, and I don't want to run the risk of mentioning some and forgetting some. Sir, let me see you hide under that canopy of protection. Let me thank our in-laws. I will begin with the wife of my father, that is Ukommi. Thank you. The wife of Engineer Professor Ukommi, you made me to learn that, because as we began as our life, when I addressed him as Dr. Ukommi, he said no, it's Engineer Dr. Ukommi, that I should ask other engineers. Today, he's a professor, and I'm happy he's here. The wife of Engineer Ukommi, Professor Ukommi, ATN, thank you. The wife of Engineer Aniefiok Ukommi, thank you. Let me also thank my in-law that has become a very close brother. Please stand for recognition. Pastor Ise Obon Ashiko Udon is taking care of my sister, and evidence is here. Let me also acknowledge the person I fondly will refer to as the holder of my happiness, assuming the responsibility of a mother-in-law when she was least prepared for. I'm talking about Ifoma Ekwe. Thank you. Let me also acknowledge a few persons that have played key role in my life. I want to thank Bishop Eka Etuk and wife. They have been very, very nice, not only to me, but to others around me. Let me also thank my pastor, the pastor of Inside Bible Church, Pastor Sylvanus Ukafia. He promised to be here, and I know before we close, he will be here. Of course, the pastor of my church in my community, the pastor of Bible Church in Ekano. I can't recall his name. I met him just about a week ago. But, sir, thank you for coming. Let me also appreciate my father-in-law. He entrusted me with his daughter, and he has been very nice. The only question he asked was if he would take care of her. And I made that commitment without knowing what was ahead. But here, we are together, and we are happy. Let me also thank his brothers and others. They are very good with me. Permit me to and is here. Thank you. Let me also thank our in-law, Honorable, let me just say double, Honorable and double Doctor Ekota. They are here. Thank you for coming. And of course, my friend, who have traveled all the way from Bayelsa Rivers to be here. Of course, I won't end it without thanking staff and students of Sociology Department, Sociology and Anthropology Department, University of Uyo, and that of Akwa Ibom State University. They have been very, very nice and good with me. The students are all here. Let me also specifically appreciate the National Association of Parading Students Association. I was at the undergraduate level, their president in the University of Port Harcourt. I want to thank members of private church, they are here. Royal Crown Ministries, Oron, Inside Bible Church, they are here. Let me also thank members of the elite brothers from the governor, the previous governors, and others. Thank you. My group in Inside Bible Church, I want to thank them, Park and Garden. Thank you for showing up for me. Let me also appreciate members of the planning committee. They have done so much for me. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't end this without recognizing a special friend. He came in all the way from Lagos. When he told me he would be here, I thought he was joking because a couple of promises not kept. Mr. Dominic Ubong Esen, due. We grew up together virtually. Thank you for coming. I've seen the political class from Pareni, even though I'm not a politician, but I've seen a couple of them. From the previous chairman to the current, thank you. I've also seen Honorable Commissioner for Education. Thank you for coming. And I also appreciate our very dear person, Honorable Glory Edith. Thank you for coming. Let me appreciate every other person who has not mentioned the name, but I appreciate you. Finally, to my family, my business. If the home front was not well taken care of, I wouldn't have been what I am today. So I want to appreciate my beloved wife, Aniefiok, Ukommi. I call her Ukommi. If you ask me, I can explain further. That brings vitamin D. That's all I know. I want to appreciate our children. They have been the best, from the family secretary to others. Thank you. We appreciate you, and I still hope that the peace we are enjoying will continue. Thank you. Sir, I want to say this before I go into my inaugural lecture proper, that what I'm presenting today is what I have already worked on, published, and I have captured what is contained in various sub-themes for emphasis, and I'm going to use those sub-themes in the course of my presentation. I'll start with the first one, inaugural lectures. Inaugural lectures in the global academic community are meant to showcase newly promoted professors, for them to have a platform to justify their promotion, and also showcase what they have been doing to earn the promotion, and as well what they want to do in the future. It is an opportunity for the university to show to the town why in the early days in America and in other European countries, it became a tradition that within a year of promotion, an opportunity is provided for the newly promoted to present his inaugural address. But what is happening in our environment is different. That is because promotion comes in arrears, and the opportunity to present is also very tasking these days. My own promotion came in arrears, but I want to appreciate the university management for giving me the opportunity to present my inaugural lecture within 10 months of receiving my promotion letter. Thank you. And since this occasion affords me the opportunity to address not only academics alone, it is my intention to keep this inaugural lecture very simple, lively, howbeit in full compliance with laid-down tradition or convention. Therefore, I will summarize and present researches I've done over time, and I will carefully lead us into it. I'll start with my journey to professing industrial sociology. My vice chancellor, being a son of two teachers, they always will tell us that the home is always a classroom. I dreamt dreams like every other young person of my age. At first, I desired to become a medical doctor. Later, I discovered I couldn't stand the sight of blood. I quickly redefined my ambition. Fate brought Barrister Uyo Main my way. Without him knowing, he conditioned my mind towards becoming a lawyer. When I disclosed that to my mom, she refused to grant approval. Maybe if it were now, I would have disregarded her advice and proceeded. But then, children were more attentive to their parents. She later told me her reasons, but I'm not going to make disclosures of that reason, sir. Permit me. I quickly opted to become an economist for a reason that has become so laughable when I sit back to review. The economics teacher at my secondary school, one Mr. Udeme, was so good, and he was able to convince us. Then I was in SS2, and that was in 1991, that if we are to make it in life, we should desire to be like the governor then of the state. He told us that he was an economist, and for us, we should desire to become an economist. Vice Chancellor, sir, I quickly devoted myself to becoming an economist. Gave myself to the study. Then 3 things happened that drastically changed my ambition. The first one, my encounter with the headmaster of my mom. I was at home the same 1991, preparing to get back to school. The man drove in and then handed me the sum of about 300 and something naira, not 1,000. Gave me a piece of paper to sign, acknowledging receipts. And when he was about going, I asked, what was this for? He said, your mother will understand. Give it to her. When my mom returned, I asked, what was this for? He said, that's my monthly salary. And I looked at the needs. Five of us were in secondary school then. the money could not solve that problem. But that was not the issue. What became a problem to me was, how can someone earn that kind of salary and become so devoted to the work, so committed to the work? That was my shock. The second one, I wanted to be an economist. My name came up. In those days, we sat back to get JAM admission and university admission at home without interference. But when my result came out, the only subject that was withheld was economics. I cried my heart out, and that is when Elder Inoko, I recall he took me to let Mrs. Mata meet. And she took me, realizing that I was not ready to be consoled, to the office of the head of department then of economics, led Professor Basia Papan. He was the deputy vice chancellor of this university. He took me quickly to the then head of sociology department, handed me over to him, a few explanations, and let Professor Ikoyon simply look at me and told me, "You're going to profess sociology. Don't run away from it." And I was looking at it. I came to ask you to help influence admission for me to become like the late Obamokan Seminary. And you're telling me I should profess, or I will profess sociology with certainty. He told me not to worry, gave me his own story, and helped me, and the rest is the story. The third event, on the day I was to go back and submit documents to enable me process my transfer to economics department, students were on protest in the University of Port Harcourt. And when I came close to where they were, all I could hear was that they didn't have water, they did not have electricity. There were three stories. Police were shooting bullets. Apologies to my friends who are policemen. They are my friends and they are everybody's friends. And then I was asking, why would this happen? Shortly, when the matter was about being resolved, ASU went on strike. And then my problems. Someone waiting to become an undergraduate, so close, but they have not been documented. My mind was always, when are we going to get back to school? And then I kept engaging the Professor Ikoyon, and he told me that those are things I should come in and find answers. For example, why would someone go on strike? Why wouldn't the government have so much resources, pay them well? And why is it that students' future are not considered in some of these instances? He told me, don't worry, I will advise you. Sociology is a very large area. Come into industrial and you'll be fulfilled. It became a consolation as I look back. Why? Because in sociology, I've been able to understand medicine. I couldn't achieve. We have sociology of medicine. In sociology, I've been able to understand law, sociology of law. In sociology, I've been able to understand economics, and that's what we refer to as industrial sociology. Why the topic that it may be well with Nigerian workers? I wouldn't go us with long story, but I will tell us that it stems from my personal experiences. That's why I wasted your time telling you the story. Having seen how much was paid and how committed the person was, the salary was lower than the commitment. Having seen the suffering of workers and having accepted to take on that commissioning, even before my first class in sociology, I gave myself to the coming as a summary of my works, publications that I've made over the years. Areas I've concentrated on, and I want to selectively discuss very few aspects of what I've been committed to over the years. Therefore, this inaugural lecture is a first summary of my research publication that was driven by my sincere desire to fulfill the commission by my mentor. And I want to limit my discussions to evidence from my research publications, professional practice as an industrial sociologist. Vice Chancellor, sir, please permit me not to re-report my works or publications because they are already in print and most of them are available online. But let me present them in a manner that will carry my audience along. Those that are informed, the semi-informed, and the uninformed. We need to work together. Society as an organism. You'll find that in sociology we talk, our focus is on society. We want to understand how society is formed, how it works or functions, consequences. We want to understand institutions that we have and the purposes that they serve. And one of the major things we do in sociology is to compare the society to a biological organism. That simplifies our illustration, and we refer to it as organismic analogy. The society, like a biological organism, have needs, and those needs must be satisfied for it to survive. In order for these societies to survive, they create institutions. And what they do with these institutions is to enable them to fulfill those needs. How do we bring in new members of society? How do we indoctrinate them or inculcate in them the values that the society wants? Because if you have, for example, a child, and that child is not well mentored or oriented in the society, you are not having a child. What you have is a very senior animal, because it's going to create a lot of issues. So the function of education, for example, is to bring in people, get them to become acquainted with the positive values that the society wants. And then if you look at the economy, for example, it tries to answer the question of what do we produce, how do we produce, who do we produce this for? And these are some of the complex processes that we are trying to simplify with those illustrations. So the economy, for example, is a very important institution in society because it is where we meet the needs. Goods are produced, services are also made available, and this enables us to contribute as society. There are various works that we publish there, some in conjunction with others, which we have highlighted the importance of the economy. Recall that my mind was still settled, that I saw myself as an economist, even though I ventured into sociology. Now, if you look at an economy that is performing, some of the indicators, GDP, gross domestic product, and then you look at inflation rate, unemployment rate, and so on, they determine, when you look at those indicators, it tells you, is this economy functioning well, or is it an economy that is malperforming? There is no gain saying that an economy that is not, for example, producing enough for members of that society will not be able to generate jobs. An economy that inflation is the rate of inflation is so high, will produce a very high level of unemployment. And when that happens, even if we want to leave the normal macroeconomic explanation, the simple explanation will tell us that in such economy, you cannot work. If the economy is not producing, where will you get the work? And if you cannot get the work, how will it be well with the worker? And that is why we look at those economic performance with others, and we came up with what position we had in those groups. What manner of economy is Nigeria operating? I was very fond of my economics teacher, and he told me that Nigeria operated mixed economy. Anything that is mixed, my vice chancellor, depends to a very large extent on the mixer. And the challenge we have with such is that when the mixer changes, or if you change the mixer, permits me to use that word, you may not have the original recipe for what was done. Now, we look at it. The mixer, the government, we changed it. We are operating in an environment that government changes frequently and policies are not maintained, or they discontinue with some of those policies. Now, what we now have is an economy that is generating what a sociologist like me may look at and say, we have a bad economy. We have an economy that is underperforming or not performing at all. Poverty amidst blessing. Nigeria is a blessed country, and we have all the resources that so many countries are looking for to make themselves great. I've been following up on Japan, and you find that they are not anywhere near we are. What resources do they have? How is the economy performing? And so many other countries. But the reverse is the case here. We have a very vital resources. For now, even when people have been talking about going green, going blue, we still find that our oil is important. Each time bomb is dropped in Iran, the price of petrol, for example, goes up. And what it means directly is that our cost of living is increased. I just need to keep the explanation very simple. And when that happens, we now discover that we are blessed, but we are not benefiting. What are those challenges? We leave those ones to economists to look at. But for us, we're looking at whether the oil is a blessing or a curse. Blessing, it could have been if we are able, for example, to benefit from the proceeds of oil mining. But of course, when you look at the reality, because you find that conflicts are instigated and linked to oil exploration. And that's how you find areas you have oil, you have so many conflicts. And it seems as if those conflicts can never be resolved. And our interest, we look at it and we discover that where you have this conflict, jobs cannot be created. That's our interest in industrial sociology. If this conflict continues, what happens to the welfare and well-being of workers? Are we able to make some explanations to that? Now we talk about the working poor. You're working, yes. It's becoming very difficult to meet ends meet. Ladies and gentlemen, that was where my mother found herself. You're working, yet you cannot meet the basic needs that you have. And we have looked at the situation. Even as 2025, unemployment rate stood at 4.3%, informal employment rate stood at 93%, GDP at about 4.2%, and poverty was projected at 61%. That's statistics we got from NBS. Wherever you have such, like Vice Chancellor said, you always have the working poor. That is why in the course of publicizing this lecture, so many people have called me, what are you going to say about our workers? Vice Chancellor, sir, if workers were okay, let me use that word, they will not be anticipating what will come out from here. I don't even know, because we have listed those we are taking as part of those making the category of the working poor, but I'm afraid lecturers to it. The house series of several works that we've done, some alone, some in conjunction with others, supporting that position. And I do not intend to keep us with such explanations. Selective work practices and the Nigerian worker. We took on work stress and organizational performance. The summary of that is that we found that most workers were overloaded. They were given assignments that were much more than what they were prepared to pay. And that is why we concluded that an average worker in Nigeria battles with workplace stress. Vice Chancellor said, we carried out one of the studies in the University of Uyo in 2017. And we discovered then that the workers were overloaded. Few workers carrying out enormous tasks. And they were dying. In their numbers, there were times you look at the typical month, those statistics are still being collected by my group. Statistics of death in about 5 universities. We want to compare and contrast what the rate is across those universities. And we are believing if we are able to look at that over a period of time, we may be pushed to look at what would be those likely factors. In the University of Uyo, we found that our staff were overloaded. The work environment were also stress-inducing, and most of them were doing it mentally. Vice Chancellor said, I don't know whether that could be part of explanation, that it became a culture to delay student results. And then we talked about target setting, practices in the banking sector. We bring in staff, assign huge amount that they should bring in, and you make them to run from pillar to post. We also discovered that some of these were actually not allowing those workers to really settle down and continue. Much of these are already contained in what we have published. Downsizing, retrenchment, and retirement. Downsizing has become a very popular strategy that is used by organizations in order for them to survive. And then you find that for them to compete with other organizations favorably, they need to put their house in order. The way most of them go is to downsize. And we are getting to the point that skilled workers of some banks. We dealt with Access Bank, Ecobank. We discovered that their statistics, the statistics of turnover and accidents, had issues. I don't need to go into that to save our time. And then we also look at the issue of retirement. Most workers are not very prepared for retirement, but it's a phase in life which all of us must also prepare for. Part of what we did was to look at retirement in 2020, and the summary of what we did suggested that while in savings, most workers think less of when they want to go. That's why sometimes they fill with records. And what we aim to achieve with that is to prolong their stay. When you're aiming to prolong your stay, you will get confused, not planning for your retirement as you should. And what that will bring to you will be that when your time comes, you will be less prepared. And that is why the predicament of our retirees is something we should look at. We make our recommendations. We talk about unions. Why should unions be? At the beginning of my research, my position was that unions are very necessary and that they will help to better the loss of Nigerian workers. But over time, I've come to realize that unions are also one very committed factor that weighs the progress of workers. And that was actually when we compared workers in welfare in organizations that permitted unions, and then those organizations that did not permit unions. And then we found, for example, that in most organizations that disallow unions, their total take-home and other welfare packages were higher than those with very strong unions. That's food for thought. And that is why I have to redirect my research focus. Vice Chancellor, sir, I've been involved in researches as well as in programs that are aimed to strengthen not only the visibility of our own women and girls, but to make them, to place them at a vantage position that their voices should be heard. And I've been involved in this since 2011. That is why we talk about the gender-based violence and the girl child. And even in this school, we have done about 6 researches that borders on improving the well-being of our students, especially the female. The last 2, Project Alert, they were able to come and introduce intervention programs. We now have the CASA Club. Those are people, young men and women, that will speak out against sexual violence in our school. And the other one is the Gender Mobile. Since 2019, I've also been involved in that. There are other stories that I've gotten myself involved. I've participated in programs aimed to bring practical solutions to problems. I've been lucky to be involved in 3 World Bank projects and programs, and I've also been involved in United Nations programs as well. And then we talked about the funded researches. If you look at what is projected there, the first one was when the wife of the dead government recognized our efforts. And the middle is the other struggles, my Vice Chancellor, that took us to Obudu. And serious risk. And then the last one here, it's an ongoing research project that is funded by NIGERIAN and is still ongoing. So I don't intend to keep us. And I want to conclude by saying that the well-being of Nigerian workers is the foundation for national prosperity. My works, the several works I've done, I've listed them at the end of the lecture notes. I've argued for dismantling exploitative structures and building systems that motivate and protect workers. And my key recommendations over the years include: one, if the economy is not strong, we will not have high rates of employment. What we will have will be unemployment rate that is escalating. So we are arguing that we should, for example, be able to put up programs that will, for example, upgrade our economy. We are looking at reformation process that will take our education to where we will get more of our students and graduates skilled in various areas. You know, the educational system is one of what we have undertaken as a research was as presently configured until recently was geared towards producing people that will speak more grammar than in producing results that would change our circumstances. Institutionalization of stress management. If we can look at the stress management processes and institutionalize those management processes, we could help produce workers who will be very happy working and who will raise the bars of productivity. When such is attained, it will also rub off on our economy. And we also suggest that we should strengthen our unions to focus also on the well-being of our retirees, as well as improving workers' welfare. Lastly, we'll talk about equitable distribution of resources. If that is done, more and more of our people will be taken care of through expanded employment opportunities. My Vice Chancellor said, what will I be doing having become a professor? I want to assure you, sir, that I will continue to teach. I will continue to carry out research. I will continue to mentor our very young and upcoming ones. And I also intend to focus more on community service at different levels. And since it has become well known that admission into sociology, especially at higher degrees, is not what it used to be, I also want to dedicate my time to encouraging more people to take the study of sociology very, very important. I will now be focusing more on looking at how we could expand the benefits that our union could bring to members and not to the union executive. And I also want to focus more on how we could protect our women and children. And therefore, I want to humbly plead for an opportunity, my Vice Chancellor, to allow me to institute a grant for MSc students. It should be 200,000 to encourage those that merit. We work out the modalities with the head of department and those who are in industrial sociology. So I promise not to take your time, and I'm done. Thank you. But that is not
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Join me in celebrating and appreciating our inaugural lecturer for such an insightful, illuminating, thought-provoking presentation. Let's celebrate. On behalf of the university, I'd like to congratulate you for your lecture, well presented. In line with our academic heritage, the inaugural lecturer will present a copy of this lecture to the Vice Chancellor. Please come here.
Vice Chancellor said, I want to present a copy of my inaugural lecture to you. Thank you.
Then the Vice Chancellor will present a commemorative plaque to the inaugural lecture. This is presented the Professor Aniefiok Ukommi, who is the 138th Inaugural Lecturer of this unique university. The Vice Chancellor, may I respectfully invite you to make some remarks.
Like we have promised that on the inaugural lectures, we don't keep it for more than an hour. That's where we are. We speak and sing. Let me say that many, and in fact, this inaugural lecture, I blame our work ethics. We are here at work, and in fact, many parents start their work by 4 a.m. preparing the children to go to school. And when they finish preparing the children to go to school, they also see themselves in school. And by 1 o'clock, they are preparing to do school assignments to go and take the children back. They rush the children back by 2 or 3. They are back in the university. Work continues. When they get home at 5, they are preparing to go to church. When they go to the church, it's dancing and praying till 10. At the end of the day, sleep. They're only 2 hours. And the impact, the effect actually shows in the product they bring in the university. So let me congratulate the inaugural lecturer today for giving us this reality or truth. But what I can say is that if the inaugural lecturer had been questioned to do economics, he would have been able to calculate the correlation between work and residences and what will happen to the that payment or not. And that would have helped us to mathematically draw the graph between the two variables and other variables that are taught into the math. However, great as that would have been, he had done something today. This lecture has done something today which had pushed me to make a policy. And the policy is that in our university from next semester, we are going to be having 2 hours of forced break for all lecturers. Everybody, all workers. work. If you come to work at 8, you'll work till 2. By 2 o'clock, you must close your office. And you come back by 12 o'clock. By 12, you close the office. And you come back at 2 o'clock. Let me tell you something. When you come back at 2 o'clock, you leave at 5. System, because you plug in and plug out. So with this, and all our past inaugural lecturers, please rise. Next time we are going to wear this. So by the time you come, whenever you rising, people will know you are being our inaugural lecturer. So let's take a bow, please. Thank you very much for taking that bow. The next lecturer is, and in fact, the next lecture is very located around women. You must come for that lecture. The topic of that lecture is a lifetime of wellness, advancing women's health through clinical excellence, policy and leadership. A lifetime of wellness, advancing women's health through clinical excellence, policy and leadership. And that lecture will be presented by Professor Nwaniba, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Oncology, and Reproduction Health of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Faculty of Clinical Sciences. Today is the man handling the University of the Teaching Hospital. Thank you very much. Remember here, let us see you well. But you wear a robe to present. Take a bow. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So we can go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's celebrate our Vice Chancellor for that insightful remarks as we bring this memorable occasion to an end. We need to thank each and every one of you for honoring our invitation. On that note, may I respectfully invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, Professor Ukommi, to give votes of thanks. Let's celebrate her.
Vice Chancellor and other members of management, the inaugural lecturer today, I wish to thank the Vice Chancellor for continuing in this tradition and encouraging scholars to present their optimum in scholarship through the inaugural lecture series. Thank you so much, all of you who came, for always supporting our activities, and we know that you will come back again when this will be up in a few weeks from now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The Vice Chancellor, members of the management team, members of Senate, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As a prelude and preface to drawing the curtains in today's event, we shall all re-echo our commitment and allegiance to our institution and fatherland in the lyrics of our anthems. First will be a rendition of the university's anthem, and that will be closely followed in quick succession by a rendition of the national anthem. The musical squad is on standby to guide us in this segment.
for the journey mercies. Receive all the praise and the glory for the things that have transpired today. We bless your name in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
For a quick announcement, there's going to be a one-day capacity building workshop titled Navigating University Administration, Effective Leadership, Governance, Accountability, and Strategic Management for Institutional Excellence at the 1,000-seater TETFund Auditorium, Main Campus, Nwaniba Road, Uyo. Date is Friday, July 31st, 2026 at 10 a.m. Secondly, during recession, no one is expected to move, please, until the Vice Chancellor and members of the management team, as well as members of Senate, are fully recessed. And lastly, there is going to be